you went through some stuff, and in your life, the trauma led up to the point you mentioned earlier being 350 pounds. I know you shared some of the vices you had before. Women being a vice, porn being a vice, drugs being a vice. Obviously, dude, you got overweight. What was the breaking point for you where it had to change?
Call it divine intervention, if you will. I feel like it was this moment of clarity where I was like, I know what I'm supposed to do with all this suffering. I think constantly about this notion of turn your breakdowns into breakthroughs. Transform your trauma into triumph. Be the hero of your own story.
Welcome to the DV Podcast, where we talk to inspiring people from all walks of life. On today's episode, we have my good friend Michael Unbroken, who has had a podcast that he's done over 600 episodes over the last several years in his own podcast. And on today's podcast, we're going to talk about trauma, what it means to be unbroken, and his journey from literally being homeless when he was only 10 years old to now running an incredibly successful online brand and company. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Who inspires you?
Who inspires me?
Yeah.
Are we recording or are you asking me?
No, we're good.
Okay, cool. Because I just wanted to make sure I create a lot of context if I'm going to answer. I think about so much of the journey of life and the things that lead us to where we are. And the only way that you can get to where you are is by recognizing one inherent truth, that we are having a human experience. And that in this human experience, we are connected vastly and deeply to other human beings. And so I'm inspired by a lot of different people. And it used to be like if you were to ask someone who I was as like a teenager or in my early 20s, they'd be like, dude, you are the most stubborn, arrogant asshole on planet Earth. You never take anyone's advice. You don't listen to anybody who's trying to help you. And that would be entirely true. That would be completely factual, top to bottom. And what I realized and what I discovered about not only myself, but this journey in healing and becoming the person I've been able to become, it's only been through other people. I mean, if I really like nuance it down, I mean, I'm inspired by my little brothers. They're absolutely incredible, like watching their journeys, especially from where we come from, inspired by my sister, my community, my circle of friends. Like, dude, I literally am friends with some of the greatest people on planet Earth. Right. And I see what they do and I go, damn, that's amazing. And I'm cheerleading them. Right. I want them to succeed. Honestly, sometimes probably more than myself. And then, of course, I look at my mentors, people who have spoken deeply into my life over the years. And, those would be people like Tom Bilyeu and David Meltzer and Anthony Trucks, people who literally like right now I can call them and I know that they have my back.
No, that's cool. It's cool that you have such great people in your corner. And what I see with a lot of people is they go through variations in life where they become almost like different people. It's almost like that part of them is gone and they're now someone new. Would you see yourself as like the same person as you were when you were younger, or would you say you've transformed into different variations? And if so, do any of those prior ones inspire you?
I think there are some characteristics still that I would say are inherent in me. Like I am still stubborn, like no questions asked, dude. Like, and that has driven me to success in a lot of ways because when I get focused on something, I'm in. Like when I make a decision, it's done. There is a general curiosity, as I think probably an inherent trait of mine, to find information. And so when I was a kid, we were absolutely dirt poor. I mean, we were on poverty. We were on government food. A lot of my clothes would come from the church or the Goodwill. Or I remember one time, like I stole this jacket out of the lost and found at school because I didn't have a jacket. And like the next day, this kid's like, that's my jacket. Right. And so we're that poor. Well, a byproduct of that is that our electricity would get turned off all the time. And I grew up in Indianapolis in the middle of America. And summers in Indianapolis are 100 degrees and sweltering hot humidity. And so I would go to the library, which was about 3 blocks away from my house, just off the corner of like 28th and Georgetown. Or it might have been 32nd and Georgetown. I might have done that backwards. And I would just sit in the library all day and read. But I only read nonfiction. Like I was reading biographies about people when I was 8 years old. because I wanted anything other than my life. Right. And I was like, if I can learn from these people, not so cognizant of it at that young of an age, but I was like, if I can learn from these people, maybe that goes over into these other elements and areas of my life. And I'm the kid who got in trouble for reading other books in school. Right. I mean, I read Hamlet when I was 11. I was just like, I want to know. I'm curious, like what's in here. And so I think my stubbornness and my curiosity are things that I've always had that I'm trying to not only further understand, but allow to leverage as points that elevate me continually into what's next in my life. And so those are a couple of traits that I would never trade. But dude, I've got traits that I'm like, I never want to see out of myself again. Right? Just evil, dark, that like now I think about it, I'm so far removed from it, like it's almost another lifetime ago. When I wrote my first book, a few years ago, I wrote a line that says, I took the old Michael behind the shed and I killed him. That was that darkness, that hateful energy, that conniving, that controlling, that let me bend the world to me or burn it down in the process. And so, I think like any of us, we have our light and our dark.
Do you have that person still in you then? If you killed that guy, you have morphed into someone else, right?
Do you like comic books?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You ever seen X-Men?
Yeah.
Okay. So we know in X-Men, like, you have to learn how to control your powers, whether they're good or they're evil. You have to learn how to control them. And that's what I had to do. And so that part of me that's full of anger and angst and wants to burn the world down. Because, dude, look, the reality is at 4 years old, my mother, who was a drug addict and alcoholic, cut off my right index finger. I mean, you can see here multiple skin grafts, surgeries, the whole nine. That's jump off, dude. Imagine that amount of hate and vitriol in you from 4 years old. Stepdad, super abusive. Kicked the shit out of my brothers and I. He's my size. I'm 6'4", 220. I'm a linebacker. Imagine beating up a 7-year-old, right? And so now we add that to the equation. Getting adopted by my grandmother was simultaneously one of the best and worst things that ever happened to me. I'm biracial, black and white. She's an old racist white lady from a town in Tennessee you never heard of, right? So insert identity crisis. Not to mention all the bullying, all the times I was homeless, living with over 30 different families between 8 to 12. Dude, I hated the world. Like, that's not even an overstatement. Like, if I could have burned everything down, I would have. And so I had to learn a lot of different things about who I am. And part of it was, what do you do with anger? What do you do with pain and suffering and hurt and shame and guilt? How do you take judgment, something that is bestowed upon you from other people, and leverage it to go and create something beautiful in the world? Right? So it's this series of learning and understanding who I am at depth. And so because I know who I am, the greatest thing Tom Bilyeu ever taught me was know thyself. I'm sure he probably learned that from the Stoics and on, right? But he and I were having a conversation one day, and I was saying, I want to change the world. And he was like, well, how the fuck are you going to do that? And I was like, these are the ways. He goes, good, now go deeper. And we got in deeper, and he goes, one of the things that you need to know is, like, if you want to live a fulfilling life, you need to know exactly who you are. So I know those parts are in me, man. I will never hide from that. But I've learned how to put that energy into something else, whether it be martial arts or the podcast or writing books or coaching people. It's like at any given moment, that part can take me over. And it's just like the X-Men. I've learned how to control that superpower.
For someone who has been through trauma like that, because, dude, you've been through it, but maybe they haven't, it's still controlling them. You do coaching. Like, how do you help people get through that?
I'm going to say this, and I want people to understand the truth of what I'm about to say. I cannot help you. I've coached thousands of people around the world. Millions of people have listened to my podcast. The only thing I can do, dude, is I can show you how. That's it. You got to take the steps. You got to show up. You got to put skin in the game. Most people get into coaching because like, this person's going to change my life forever. And I'm like, no, that's not how this works. What we're going to do is we're going to lay out the framework. I'm going to say, if you want to go to A to B, this is how you do it. We're going to gear you up. Like, I think about this a lot. Like, if you look at the NFL, this is a broad example. You've never seen an NFL coach on the field winning the Super Bowl, except on the sidelines, guiding his team to victory. They have to go out there and execute the game plan. And people ask me that all the time, like, how do you help people change their life? I'm like, I don't. I tell them, this is what I believe to be true about the thing that you need to do to move towards the life that you want to have. Here it is. What are you going to do with it? And there are people, I'm going to say this, and it's just fact. 10% of people I work with, their life will not change, ever. Fear, shame, indoctrination, guilt. They're so terrified of the first step. And then they'll leverage things like, I read the book, I went to the program, I listened to the podcast. And they won't take the action. The action is a cure-all, man. I remember one time I was in a therapy session with my therapist. I'm like 30 at the time. He said something that really changed my life. He goes, change only happens when you make change happen. And I was like, God, it's so good. Because it's true. It's just true. And so if you want to create a different life, you take a different path. So as a coach, I sit with you and I sit across from you and I go, let's lay it all out on the table. What are the best things that have ever happened to you? What are the worst things that have ever happened to you? What do you want? And then I ask people a very simple question. I go, what are your values? Most of them have no idea. And so we start there. Because if I can create a framework for that, we can go do anything from there. And so it really does just simply become about giving them the tools and then showing them what to do with them. It's that simple.
In your coaching practice, how do you define success if you're working with someone?
The moment, I love that question. The moment that they call me, email me, text me, we're in the coaching call, and they go, I don't need to do this with you anymore. I feel really good. That's it. That's the only defining metric. Man, I was able to overcome so much of this. I was able to put boundaries in my life, remove myself from the abusive family member that's still taking control over me, get my health in check, get my debt in check. Most importantly, which I think is kind of the cornerstone of all of this, is learning to love yourself. Like, can you stand in front of the mirror and be okay with the reflection despite your, probably for most of us, regrettable decisions? Can you let go? Can you stand there in truth and say to yourself, I'm good. I love who I am. And that's the victory, man. Like, I think about this, again, as a sports analogy, it's like the championship. The championship for me as a coach, you come and you tell me I'm good. Thank God. That's it. That's the game.
How do you? So in my company, we've got stats in every division of the company, and we have a coaching area of the company, and we jokingly say, like, it's like, what's the stat for that? It's like, oh, how many tiers we got this week, right? And of course, that's not real, right? We have other metrics of success, but when you're working with people, and I'm imagining varying levels of acknowledgement of what's happened to them, because some people, I know people who suppressed it. It's still there, but it's suppressed. And other people have this like higher level of awareness and they know, they really know what happened. Like, how do you handle emotions and waves that come as you're exposing and finding new things in people?
Yeah, you have to, like, people have to understand that emotions are not who you are. Right? They're a part of who we are, but you also have to be able to know and look at one of the really interesting truths about life. If you can't feel some emotions, How can you feel any emotion? So if you're like, people often come, the number one emotion people do not have when they come into programs with me is they don't know how to touch anger, right? Because it's been stripped out of them. The worst thing most kids can do in volatile households and abusive households is get angry, right? That's the fastest way to get hurt. And so what happens is, since they've never felt anger, I go, well, do you think you've ever really felt love? And they go, no, probably not. I'm like, do you think you felt joy? You don't feel sadness? Like, there's equanimity to the universe. There is a yin and yang. Like, it all is this journey of being able to step into it and say, I feel this. And to allow the emotions to exist. But sometimes it takes a long time to get to the place where those emotions can even begin to show themselves. If you've never been able to leverage emotions in your life, if you've never been able to feel happiness or joy without some kind of ramification, right, it's almost implausible that you would even be able to touch them. And so we start very simply, and I say, what do you think these words mean? Right? Can you define? Language is so important. Can you define the meaning of happiness, the meaning of sadness, the meaning of hurt and loss, or whatever that thing may be? And then if you can define it, you can look for it. Most people don't realize their life is actually pretty good, right? Especially if you live in the United States, the greatest country on the fucking planet. There's so much opportunity and potential for you right here. And it's like most people are terrified just to say, I had a good day today. Because the media is fucking full of shit and all they do is lie to you and perpetrate hate and fear. Most of the radio and the content we consume in our ears is poisonous. The food obviously is. And I know this because I used to be 350 pounds. So let me be the first person to raise my hand and say I had to do some fucking work there, right? And it's like, if you can educate yourself, if you can teach yourself, if you can get deep into understanding the entirety of the human experience that we are in now, not the one that you wish we were in. Because, dude, this is the thing that people do not understand. You're not in the thing you wish you were in. You're in the thing that is true. And if you can leverage that and be okay with that, and then understand that you can move towards the thing that you wish, and on a long enough timeline, it's very probable you can make it happen. If anyone in history has ever made it happen, then you can sit and look at, okay, what are the positive things in my life? And recognize those emotions and just allow them to be. Not judge them, not beat yourself up about them. If you're having a bad day, great, cool. Okay, have a fucking bad day. But can you shorten the length of time of which it's bad? And for now, for me, it's very momentary. I'm like, I have bad moments. I don't let bad moments ruin my fucking day. Because at the end of the day, like realistically, we're all going to die. So it doesn't matter anyway.
So then what's the purpose of life?
I have no idea. I don't know. You know what I mean? If I were to like put on my stoic glasses for a moment, I think it's just simply to explore the possibility of your greatness. Can you let go of the things that don't matter? Let go of the things you can't control. Get control over your mind. Get control over your actions. And just try to live into being the person you're capable of being. For some people, like they're born, dude, you know this. Like some people are born and they're like, I knew from the moment I was born I wanted to be a mother, and that's the greatest thing that they will ever do. And some people, like the moment I was like, I just wanted to be a fighter, right? And it's like, can you honor that in your journey? Just see what happens if you try to be the thing that you believe you can be. I think that's the purpose of life, because I don't know otherwise why we're here. You know, and if anyone listens to Alex Hormozy, he's gotten a lot of flack over the last few months for talking about him being a nihilist. I'm a nihilist too, like to my core. I believe that when we are dead, none of this fucking matters. But the juxtaposition of it is this. Every single moment of every single day while you are alive matters more than anything. But in the scheme of things, you're going to die. And so if you leverage this idea that life serves some purpose beyond doing what you want, I think you're in trouble. And I think the purpose of life is to do what you want. I don't think you should fucking be an axe murderer. I mean, I'm sure if that's some people's life purpose, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately it's, can you sit in your truth and move towards it? in your life, your health, your family, your relationships. I think that's it, man.
What dude, it's so weird coming from doing our podcast together with you and then coming here and like, dude, I'll have like, oh shit, dude, I really want to hear you talk about this, and all of a sudden you say some shit, blow my mind. So I don't know how people can listen to this, but dude, I wanted to ask you, I don't know what a nihilist is.
So very simply, here's my scope, how I look at it. I believe that there's really no purpose to life, right? Other than to live in the moment and be who you want to be. That's it. And people will leverage, well, the path of destiny or this or that, but it's really simply just understanding like there's no purpose. I've had to force myself into creating purpose. So it took me a moment to answer that question because I really had to put some thought into it. I believe this comes from me, from my childhood, right? All the abuse, all the you don't matter, you're not good enough, you're a loser. My own parents told me this. The being homeless, the stealing food to survive, I lived by myself at one point in an abandoned house for 6 weeks. I was 11, dude. Right? And so I had massive battle with God. I mean, I think him and I are still in war right now as we speak. And I've learned to kind of, for me, it was be a good person became kind of the crux of my life when I hit rock bottom at 26. It's like, just be a good person to the best of my ability, knowing that even though I have these big goals, here, I'll go a little bit deeper into it. I have huge goals in my life. Like, I want to be a multiple-time New York Times best-selling author. I want to have the #1 mental health podcast in the world. I want to buy a beautiful giant lake house and have a wife and kids and an Audi R8 Spider. And these are the things that are on my like vision board. And I know with certainty that in 100 years, no one's going to know who I am. It's like, name your great-great-grandma. Name your grandma, for that matter, for some people. You know what I mean? And it's like everyone in this country, again, what I love about the opportunity that's in front of you in America is you can go and build something gigantic. And people are like, legacy, legacy, legacy. And I'm like, yeah, that's fair. Like, I understand why people want legacy. But when you're dead, like, it doesn't matter, man. And people leverage and they waste so much of their life trying to build something that eventually doesn't serve any purpose. Like, I think about, like, the title of my first book is called Think Unbroken, Understanding and Overcoming Childhood Trauma. We've sold tens of thousands of copies of that book. Every single publisher that I reached out to, every single agent that I spoke with, all told me no one's going to want to read this book because of the title. I said, okay, cool, whatever. I'm going to do it myself. We've sold tens of thousands of copies. I have no agent. We built a publishing house within the company, right? I hope for a reality that once I'm dead and gone, people will pick up that book and look at it and go, this is stupid. Why would a kid need, like, what? I don't know, what's childhood trauma, right? And so even that points to this idea that on a long enough timeline, even the work I do now probably won't actually matter. Mm-hmm. And that's not me being dismissive of the fact of impact and creating change in the world. It's just simply saying I'm not leveraging this idea that I'm more important than the moment that I'm in. That's all it is. And I think a lot of people hype their importance into this idea that they are grandiose, like beyond all measure. Like, there's some people in the media right now, I won't name any names, but they think they're the greatest thing on planet Earth. And I'm like, bro, we all shit our pants sometimes.
Have you ever shit your pants?
Of course, dude.
Like, literally shit your pants?
Yeah, I mean, you've been a baby.
A shart here and there too. Who's counting?
It's the human experience, bro.
Dude, what is Unbroken and what's the origin of it?
So, the famous question I've asked hundreds of people on the podcast, yourself included, is what does it mean to think unbroken? And the reason that I only give them the question on the podcast and not before is because I want it to feel very natural. I want whatever their truth is to reflect that. People will give a completely different definition based on where they are in their life. And I'll even have people like email me after they've been on the show and they'll say things like, oh, I had this idea I wish I would have said. And I'm like, well, I didn't ask you because I wanted your truth in the moment, right? Because sometimes we'll create a lot of context that I think can sway us back and forth because we go, that's going to sound good on a podcast. So I'm laying in bed one night like 7 years ago. And I had just gotten in a fight with this girl I was seeing, not like a physical fight, not even a yelling fight, just a disagreement fight. And she had not yet started doing the work. And she texts me this like diatribe, just being a jerk. I'm like, fine, whatever. And then she goes, you know what? You're broken. All the shit you're doing is pointless. I don't even know why you bother. And that night I couldn't sleep. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I just started thinking about all of the times someone in my life was like, you're broken. My mom, my community, my teachers, girls I dated in high school, they're like, you're broken. And I was like, this doesn't feel true. Like it just didn't. And I'm up and it's like this weird light bulb moment where I'm like, that's not who I am. That's not what I believe. That's not what I think. I never had intentions of creating Think Unbroken, speaking on stages, writing books, having the podcast. I was cool, man. I was running a marketing department. I was a VP at a company. I'd sold off another company that I had started. I was cool. But then I felt this, call it divine intervention, if you will. I feel like it was this moment of clarity where I was like, I know what I'm supposed to do with all this suffering. You know, I think constantly about this notion of turn your breakdowns into breakthroughs, transform your trauma into triumph, be the hero of your own story. And I felt really great about where my life was. I mean, I was still doing the work. I'm still doing the work. Don't get it twisted. I fuck up all the time. Like I'm still trying to figure my shit out. But I was like, maybe I can help some other people. And that's where it began. It was just like, I just want to be of service. That's it. I didn't expect billboards in New York City and to be a best-selling author and be on awesome podcasts like this. That wasn't the plan. It was just help people.
Did you went through some stuff and in your life, the trauma led up to the point you mentioned earlier being 350 pounds. I know you shared some of the vices you had before, women being a vice, porn being a vice, drugs being a vice. Obviously, dude, you got overweight. What was the breaking point for you where it had to change?
It was the last straw, right? Which I think it always is for people. It's funny because I've asked some of the greatest minds on planet Earth this question, the same question you just asked me, Dr. Gabor Mate, Anna Lamke, Caroline Leaf, Tom Bilyeu, Tim Storia. Like I've asked and everyone agrees with one thing, which I am going to tell you right now. You kind of have to hit rock bottom to have your life change. Like I tried my best to create things to help people mitigate the risk, but honestly, I think you just got to eat shit. Like I think you really have to have your life fucked up if you want it to change. That doesn't mean it has to get fucked up. Some people are good, like respect, that's awesome. You're already winning the game. You're happy, you're good, it doesn't matter. I hope you don't have a rock bottom. But if you're recognizing that you're constantly destroying your life, whether consciously or subconsciously, you kind of need a fucking baseball bat to the face. Because then you're actually faced with reality. That's what happened to me. And so when I was 25 heading into 26, I'm in this interesting position because I'm working for this Fortune 10 company. I'm making multiple six figures. I have no high school diploma or college education. It's almost impossible I'm even in this job to begin with. And on paper, things are cool. Like people will be like, dude, your life must be so great. I can't believe you made it out and this is what you've done. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm 350 pounds, smoking 2 packs a day, drinking myself to sleep. I'm high from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. I'm cheating on my girlfriend. I'm $50,000 in debt. My car gets repoed, and my little brother says, never talk to me again. You're not my brother. And I'm laying in bed this one Saturday morning, and it's like 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm eating chocolate cake, smoking a joint, and watching the CrossFit Games. I'm like, what is happening in my life right now? And I laugh now because it's funny, but in the moment it was really fucked up. And I pulled myself up out of bed, and I go in the bathroom. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I remember being 8 years old. And the water company had come and turned off our water. Man, they were always turning off our water, our heat, our electricity, eviction notice on the door. Bro, this is just fucking Tuesday. There's nothing new about this. And my mom says, go in the backyard and go take that bucket and get some water from the neighbor's house. And so I go in the backyard. I take this little blue bucket. I walk across the street to our neighbor's house. And for the first time, I stole water. I grew up in America. We were that poor. My mom's drug addiction was so bad. Every penny went to that. My stepfather's alcoholism was so bad. I don't remember him ever being sober. He was always drinking something or getting high. There was drugs and weed all over our house. And as I was in that backyard that day, I was like, when I'm a grown up, this will not be my life. And it wasn't in a lot of ways, because here I am, and on paper, my life looks fucking great. Except in every single other way, I'm that hurt, lost little boy. And as I'm looking in the mirror, I realized I broke that promise I made to myself when I was a little boy, like to change, to do something differently. And now here I am, heading into 26 years old. I've got nothing. And I'm like, what is the point of all this? And you know how people who are dying, they'll be like, I know my time is coming. They'll be like, I might have like 6 months. I just feel it, right? You're connected to source. You feel your energy dissipating. This meat bag, right? It's starting to die. And I felt like I had a year left. I was like, I'm going to be dead in a year if I don't change everything. And so it was really in that moment a declaration. And I asked myself a question as I was standing in that mirror. And I said, what are you willing to do to have the life that you want to have? And I don't know where this came from. God, Spirit, Mother Nature, Batman. Bro, I have no idea. But I heard no excuses, just results. And that has been how I've led my life for the last 13 years. And I'll tell you this. The first 4 years, from like 26 to 30, were the absolute hardest years of my entire life. Because it was one step forward and a million steps backwards. Changing your identity isn't about just giving stuff up. It's also about adding things. It's about saying, what do I need to give myself? Who do I need to become? What do I need to execute against to become that hero? And it was like I was so called back to the vices, so called back to the mistakes, the fuck-ups, the breakdowns. And that same brother now, all those years later, who at one point said never talk to me again, just did a road trip with me from Denver to Las Vegas, helping me move and unpack the truck. And bonding. And so people often will come to me at their worst moment. And I ask them a question so I can really understand. I go, what are you willing to do right now? What are you willing to do right now to have the life that you want to have? And I ask them, if the answer is anything less than no excuses, I can't help you. Because people will come into this and they'll be like, I'm willing to do anything. And then I say, here's the game plan. Are you sure?
The thing that I believe is, like, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what you tell me. Because, dude, words are so easy to say. I just look at what people do. What's the action? I have people I know who for years have been telling me they're going to change. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It's like, I don't care. Like, don't come tell me something you're going to do. I literally don't care.
Yeah, same.
Just when you do it and it's done, come show me the results and I'll celebrate with you. So it sounds like you now live your life and you see success differently than you did then.
I saw success then as so at 18 years old, I got kicked out of high school the second time. and my business teacher, dude, the irony of all ironies, my business teacher, Mr. Bush, shout out, comes to me. I come to him a couple days before graduation. My name is not on the list. I knew it was because I didn't go to any of his classes. And he and I had an agreement that I would at least do homework. I did homework approximately this many times in 4 years of high school. For those of you listening, it's 0. And so what happened was we made an agreement because he was a teacher for a long time, dude. He's seen things like what I was in, right? He knew. And he was like, look, just check in, do homework. We will find a way, right? That's that thing about accountability where like you got to play your cards too. You got to show up, put some skin in the game. And I didn't. And so my name wasn't on the list. I go to school and he's like, I told you, you got to check in and do homework. You didn't do that. You're not graduating. Bye. Go to summer school. Dude, I was so pissed. And I'm so mad at him. And in that moment, I'm like, fuck you, man. You don't get it. It's hard out here. And he teaches me one of the greatest lessons of my life. And I think about this all of the time. He goes, if you want something in life, you can't get by on your charms and your good looks. You have to put in the work. And I was super embarrassed. And I was it was so shameful. Dude, I got uninvited from every party. All of my friends stopped calling me. My girlfriend was definitely super embarrassed of me. And I was just another person in my family to not graduate high school. And I ended up going to summer school. And I'm sitting there, and the teacher at the time comes up to me, and he goes, you know what? We're done with you. You obviously don't want to be here, and you're impeding on these other kids' lives. I'm just going to give you your diploma. Get out. Wow. And that's exactly what happened. And so now I'm sitting in my car like it's like August, right? I'm 18. It's a little bit after everyone has graduated. And I got fired from a warehouse job where I'm just putting microchips in motherboards all day. A fucking monkey could do this job. But I got fired because I was showing up high every day, right? What role are you playing in destroying your own life? And so I'm sitting in my car, having now got this bullshit diploma, having gotten fired. And I was just thinking to myself, you cannot get out of this car until you come up with a solution for this. And so I got zeroed into one thing. I was like, the solution for this is money. The poverty, the homelessness, the abuse, the cuts, the scars, the burns. Money. It's got to be. What else would it be? And so I made a declaration to myself. I'm going to make $100,000 a year legally by the time I'm 21. And the legal part was really important. I've been in handcuffs more times than I can count. I got family in prison for life, bro, right now. For life. And my 3 childhood best friends have been murdered. Dudes I grew up with. My brothers. Like, shit I did with them I've never done with anybody. And so I knew the path. And I chased that. And that was what I determined to be success. Because it was money created the opposite of everything I had ever experienced. And so the first time I made $10,000 in a month, I literally just turned 21 years old. I don't know a lot of 21-year-olds who are banging out $80,000 cars and making $150 a year and wearing Sean John suits and Jordans to age myself.
What were you doing to do that?
I was doing insurance sales for a Fortune 10. right? So I'm dialing for dollars, bro. I'm getting it every day. Hundreds of outbounds, hundreds of inbounds, closing deals. And I mean, I was banging. We were making tremendous money. But everything, like I was just telling you, was out of control. And so that idea of success, what I thought was the thing, is the very thing that destroyed my life. Chasing anything in life without clarity is going to leave you fucked up. And so today, my definition of success is very simple. Do I get to live my life in alignment with my moral character, my integrity, my values, my boundaries, and my mission? And if I do that, dude, I could make $8 this year and I will be successful because of that. I want to make $8 million, right? Obviously. But if I made $8, I would be very okay with who I am. It's character at the end of the day.
So your brand, Think Unbroken, and your podcast, you've got, on Apple, over 600 episodes that are on there. What's the workflow look like? How are you creating so much content? Most people, they make 8 episodes and then they forget about the podcast. Some people do the ultra high achievers. Joe Rogan, do you know how many episodes Joe Rogan has?
Yeah, it's like 1,500 or something, right?
Dude, you're in there.
Yeah.
You're in that world. What's that workflow look like?
In the beginning, the workflow was me, right? And now we have a team. So in fact, we have a podcast production company because I realized I needed to do for other people what I did for myself. And that was to make me the talent and then have the team do all the rest. Because what effectively had happened is at first, like most people who start a podcast, I didn't really take it very seriously. And initially, I started my first show in 2012. This was before podcasts were anything. Like I was recording with some friends on Skype, and I didn't really know what to do with it, and like I gave up because I didn't understand. And then like 5 years ago, I love podcasts. I watch podcasts like people watch TV shows. I know who's on Tuesday. I know who's on Wednesday. I know who's on Thursday. Like that's how I consume them. And again, it's that curiosity. Like I just want to learn all the time. And so at first, what had happened is I realized like I couldn't really have continuity. And people do this all the time. Like, hey guys, I know we haven't talked in a while. It's been 8 months since I released a show, but no one gives a shit, dude. We know you don't take it seriously. Thanks for making an excuse. I did that too. I'm raising my hand. And then I was like, okay, wait, what is the mission? Why am I actually doing this? Well, at the crux of Think Unbroken, all of this comes down to one thing, right? Can I end generational trauma in my lifetime through education and information? That's it. That's the only fucking thing I care about, right? So that another kid does not have a story like mine. In fact, I believe in it so much, I got Unbroken tattooed on my fucking knuckles. Like, so I have to see it every single day because I believe in it. And when I sat and I realized like that was the mission, I took my phone out of my pocket and I hit the timer and I said, you have got to create all the content, do the editing, make the transcript, do the blog post, create the RSS feed links, blah, 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 start to finish. How long does this take? Because I really needed to understand the dynamics of it. And now this was almost 5 years ago. We have more technologies. It's very different. But it was 9 hours for one episode. 9 hours. And I said, okay, cool. What is feasible here? I can do this once a week. I can do once a week. And then I was like, actually, I'm going to bring on a team. And then we'll add more. And then we're going to add more team. Last year, we did 365 episodes.
Wow.
This year, I'm a little tired, so we're only doing about 280.
Oh, is that all?
But I was able to build a team to do that. And so I'm always looking for solutions, right? But a solution is fruitless without having a purpose and clarity. So you can sit here and be like, I want to make a podcast till the cows come home. I'm like, great, cool, whatever. During COVID, there's data on this. If you go and look at the rise of podcasts during COVID, they fucking skyrocketed. Like there was like 1 million new podcasts in 2021. And it's back down to like 20% of that. because people realized how much work it really truly takes. And so I think those people mainly failed because, well, probably a lot of reasons, but predominantly because they weren't clear about the mission. Why are you doing this? Because it is a job. It is a career. Like, I do this professionally now, you know, but that only came through understanding what the end goal is.
For you, you've had amazing guests on the podcast. You shared with me today some of the guests, and you talked about on the show. How are you getting these sick, high-profile, like top achievers to come on your podcast? Is it?
Yeah, dude, join my program, $97 a month. No, I'm teasing. Look, here's the truth, man. I get all.
Do you have a program about that?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's just bullshit.
Link in the bio.
Link in bio.
I got one now.
I'll literally just tell you how to do it. It's very simple. Ask everybody all the time. You know, be annoying when and I give a lot of love to Anthony Trucks. AT was the first dude to put me on. And that was like 3.5, almost 4 years ago. And from him, I just started name dropping, hitting up people who he'd been on and blah, blah, blah. And then it just created a snowball effect. But you got to be relentless too, man. Like, this is fact. She knows I talk about this because her and I have had this conversation over dinner. I had to email Lisa Bilyeu and her team and DM them 37 times in 6 months to get her on the show. I asked Tom Bilyeu, and he came on the first time. Right? But the point in saying that is I wanted Lisa on the show. I wanted Tim Story on the show. I wanted Anna Lamke on the show. I wanted John Lee Dumas on the show. I wanted all these amazing people on the show. Why? Because I wanted to learn from them, and I knew that my audience could take huge value from them. And so most of these people, look, here's a lie. I'm just telling you the secret of podcasting. A lie that people have told themselves is that other people are inaccessible. Bro, all these people check their DMs. Don't get it twisted. You just got to catch them at the right moment. And then you got to follow up. That's what I learned in sales really young. Dude, I get rejected 25 times a day, right? And then follow up. That's the same thing I applied over here. Podcasting and getting people on your show is sales. But dude, look, here it's more than that too. You need to treat this craft as a craft. You need to develop your talent and your skills. You need to be studious of what it is to be a good podcaster. There's have you ever seen Training Day with Denzel Washington? Oh my God, you're missing out on arguably one of the greatest films ever made. I'm going to give you a little context. There's a scene in which Denzel's in the car with his rookie. He's trying to be a detective. I'm not going to spoiler alert this for you because this movie came out in like 2004. All right, so you need to just go watch it. But there's a scene where Denzel is with this rookie. This rookie's mission is he wants to become a detective, but he has to be a narcotics officer first. And Denzel hands him a crack pipe, and he goes, "A good narcotics officer must love and know narcotics." What does that have to do with podcasting? You want to be a good podcaster? You want to get great guests? You want 600 episodes? You want hundreds of reviews, millions of listens? You must consume podcasts. I just don't know how else you get proficient at it.
399 almost 5-star reviews on your podcast.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go review his podcast and get over the 400 number for him.
Yeah. I hope it happened today. I think there's one. This is a weird one. Here's what I want to tell you. You said something about not caring about people's words. This is so incredibly important. When people think about trauma coaches and trauma podcasts, my name comes up all the time, right? That's just the nature of it. That's what has been created through what I do. I have one-star review.
And it's from me. No.
And it's from you. I knew it was. Look, and if I get more, I don't care, but I'm going to make a point here. The review said, "I don't even know what this podcast is about. Do they even talk about trauma?" I'm like, I don't think you're listening to the right show, bro. Right? And so that would sway people. That would stop people in their tracks. And I'm just like, who gives a fuck? I think it's funny. That's why I'm bringing it up, because I'm like, did you listen to this show?
On your podcast, who's been a guest that you thought was really interesting? And if you could, you'd have him come back.
A lot of them, honestly, because here's why. I only interview people I want to talk to. This is my media company. I don't have to sit down with people I don't want to ever talk to.
Do you have a favorite episode of your own show?
In a pure self-serving answer, it would be the episode I did with Tom Bilyeu. Because Tom doesn't really do podcasts as a guest frequently. He's really, really hard to get. And B, it's not on the recording because this was a moment between he and I. He goes, dude, you're an amazing interviewer. And I was like, that's all I ever want from anyone I ever interview is for them to go, man, I've never said that before. You said the same thing to me when you got done recording with me. You said, I've never said that publicly before. I will always want to create a space of humanity in which people can be like, this is who I am. And so when I think about that episode comes to mind because you have to look at that dude been interviewed by everybody. And to get that compliment, man, it's just, I got goosebumps thinking about it, you know?
That's cool. As far as other people's podcasts go, you said you're a big consumer. Do you have a favorite podcast episode of someone else's shows?
Dude, honestly, I think like he's on the rise, and I don't think enough people know who he is. But Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO, that dude is so fucking good. It makes me want to quit sometimes. Like seriously, I'll listen to him, and I'm studious about it, right? And I just study him. And he has an episode with Tim Grover, and Tim wrote Relentless. He's coached Kobe. He coached Jordan. And dude, that episode was so good. I've listened to it probably like 10 times. And I don't really ever re-listen because it's like, I got it.
It's cool. Who's a guest that you've had on your podcast that, and you can't say Tom?
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be Tom though, but if you had a co-host, you'd want that to be your co-host.
Oh, interesting. Probably I had a really incredible conversation with Amy Porterfield and I've known Amy for a little while. She's an amazing human being. And her willingness to be vulnerable, everyone knows, here, I'll give you a little more context real quick. Amy is known as the internet queen. She will help you build lists. She will help you become a millionaire. She used to work under Tony Robbins. She's built a massive empire under her. She only talks about business on podcasts, not on mine. We didn't talk for business more than maybe for like 7 seconds. And her willingness to show who she truly is outside of that scope. Because some people come on the show, and I won't name names, but they're so media trained, they won't get real with you. There's some episodes I've recorded with people who are very famous that will never see the light of day. And I had to email them after I really sat in it, I listened to it again. I said, this doesn't serve anyone. Hey, I'm so sorry I wasted your time. I apologize tremendously. Wasting time is a thing I hate more than anything on planet Earth. But I just can't release this. This was not authentic. It didn't feel right. You weren't truthful to who you were. And Amy was the opposite of all of that. She came in and crushed. And I feel like sitting down across from her, interviewing other people would just be like fucking mind blowing.
Dude, I love it. So, I have a thing we do here, which is the last guest actually wrote a question for you. They didn't know who you were, but you're going to go ahead and read the question, and then you'll leave one for the next guest.
Sure. Love this. That is an awesome journal, by the way.
Thank you, man. The bottom one there.
What matters most to you, really? Dude, honestly, the thing that matters most to me is my relationship with people. I mean, I mean this like truly in my heart. To go from this person that people fucking hated to have my own little brother be like, never talk to me again, to have ruined all of my friendships, all of my relationships just run people over again and again and again in my teens and in my early 20s, chasing whatever it is that I thought was reality for the sake of being like, I get to plant a flag, right? Which a lot of it was posturing and bullshit. Like, I'm not giving up my people for anything. If you were like, here's $1 billion right here on the table, and you have to go backstab somebody, I'd be like, no, I'm good. Ask me that question when I'm 18. I'm like, I'm stabbing everybody in the motherfucking room, right? But I made a decision.
You can stab me for $1 billion.
I'll split it with you. But I made a decision, man. And I believe that integrity is everything. Jay-Z has a lyric that really signifies who I believe that I am in a lot of ways. It goes, my balls and my word are all I have. That's all I got, man. And my people, I will not sacrifice for that.
Dude, thanks for coming on. How can people connect with you?
Yeah, I'm everywhere on social at Michael Unbroken. And, of course, you can check out the Think Unbroken podcast.
Is that on MySpace, Michael Unbroken?
Probably. We'll have to check with the team. But I'm everywhere. Think Unbroken podcast, thinkunbrokenpodcast.com, or just wherever you listen to podcasts.
Dude, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, brother. I appreciate you.
Cool. Good stuff, man.
That was good, man. That was fun.